Hello and welcome to AMainHobbies.com. I'm Gregor McGrath, and today on RC Talk, I'm going to show you how to solder a Dean's plug or T-style connector. If you're fairly new to soldering and could use some tips on how to properly solder your Dean's plug, today in this video I would like to show you exactly how I like to accomplish this in hopes it might help you to better solder your Dean's plug in the future. Now first we want to make sure that we have all the necessary equipment to complete the job. Appropriate soldering iron, heat gun, soldering station or helping hands, hobby knife, 60/40 rosin core solder, and flux. Now I like to use flux as it aids in cleaning any of the impurities to the surfaces that we will be applying solder to. Flux can be purchased in a paste or liquid form. The first step I take is to strip the covering off the wire we are joining to the Dean's plug. Using my hobby knife, I then take my heat shrink supplied with the Dean's plug and slide it over the wire we are going to be soldering. Each time I apply solder to my soldering gun, I like to ensure it's clean by wiping off the iron on a damp sponge. And then I add flux to the iron surface to clean any burnt solder off the iron. The next step I take is to apply solder to my now exposed wire. This is called tinning. First add some flux to the exposed wire. I then apply flux to the tip of my soldering gun, cleaning off any impurities. Now I like to apply enough solder to cover approximately 3 to 4 millimeter of the solder iron tip. I then take the solder iron, solder side, and gently hold it against the very end of my wire. After a few moments, allowing the wire to heat up, I then take my solder and gently apply my solder to the exposed wire. Now the next step is preparing your Dean's plug for solder. By adding flux to the surface the wire will be soldered to, and also adding flux to the soldering iron. Then like we did previously, add the same amount of solder to the soldering iron. Then I will take the iron and gently touch the iron to the Dean's plug surface, adding solder. You will notice that the solder will kind of bead up on the Dean's surface. Once it is hot enough, you can see the solder seem to bond with the surface of the plug. At this time, you can now pull the soldering iron off the plug. Tinning of the Dean's plug is now complete. Remember to clean your iron, apply flux, then tin the iron. I now take my sponge and wring out the majority of the water so that I can use it to isolate the heat between the wire and my hand. Taking the wire and holding the tin portion to the solder applied to the plug, I will then take the iron and hold it vertically, in theory, heating the wire and Dean's plug together. Once I see the solder start to melt on both wire and plug, I will roll the iron horizontally and will watch for the wire to push through the solder and stopping on the plug surface. You may now pull the soldering iron away. Our final step is to slide our heat shrink over our solder joint once the joint has cooled. Then using our heat gun, start to shrink the tubing until it has a nice tight grip around our solder joint. Complete these steps again for the second solder tab, and you have now completed soldering your Dean's plug. Soldering can be an easy process when properly prepared. Thank you for joining us today on RC Talk. If you have any more questions about the video shown today, please don't hesitate to give us a call, chat, or email, and we'd be happy to help you.
AMainHobbies.com. Visit us for our huge selection. Buy from us for our expert customer service, fast shipping, and low prices. AMainHobbies.com, your one-stop international RC superstore.